Good afternoon and welcome to Stag Talks, the programme that asks Surrey's best to share the stories of their success. Each week we'll conduct interviews with different University of Surrey alumni, from chemical engineering through to business and marketing. We'll ask our guests to share their fondest memories of student life and discuss how they use their degrees to go on to succeed in their chosen field. We'll talk about their postgraduate life and how they have overcome any challenges along the way. We'll also ask for any advice they may have for final year students as they approach the end of their studies. Let's meet today's guest, Yusuf Siddiq, who graduated from the University of Surrey in 2013 and has since entered the world of business, setting up two highly successful companies, indulges and Bike Bros. Hello and thanks for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Will.
So, since you arrived in Surrey in 2009, has the university changed at all?
It changed a lot. I was actually here before we had the Library Learning Centre.
Oh, great.
And,
gosh.
Yeah, they were still building it.
Yeah.
And I guess within these years, it got a lot better. And I'm really impressed to actually have seen Surrey go through the stages of where it has been and where it is now.
We've actually got a photo of you here, of your graduation.
Oh, yeah.
Is that
yeah, that reminds me. That's a really old photo, yeah.
Is it fond memories? Or?
Really fond memory.
Oh,
I really
great.
love it.
Oh, great. So I hear you lived in the Netherlands before. So what brought you to Surrey?
Well, I was actually applying in the Netherlands for a few universities, but there was an option as well from going to England. We've discussed that with my parents, and one of my father's friends actually is a professor at the university, and he was really vouching for Surrey, and I applied for it for chemistry, and then I got accepted, and I thought, let's start a new journey, let's come to England.
So was it the course and the reputation?
Yes. Well, my dad's friend actually knew a lot better about the university. I was still a bit new to the, British culture. Yeah. And I thought, I've never heard of Surrey, but he's a professor there. He knows it better. Let's come to Surrey and then study here. Sure.
Were there any more universities you were considering at the time?
Yes, there was a few, but when I saw the campus as well, I fell in love with Surrey, and I thought, you know what, this is where I want to study.
Great. So you succeeded in getting a place at the Dutch company Akzo as part of your degree program. Akzo.
Yes.
Could you tell me a bit about your experience there? And
so that was a placement year that I had. Akzo is the biggest coating manufacturer on the planet.
Okay.
So there I was working in the marine industry. So it's the paint that goes actually on the big oil tankers.
Oh, okay.
So I was working on new formulations for that year. It was really nice, but for me, I realized when I was there that industry is not really where I want to be. I want to set up my own sort of business, and that's where resulted into indulges and Bike Bros eventually.
Okay, great. So during your placement year, what sort of things did you do with the company or experience there?
So it was mainly what I was checking is the researching the roughness of paint, but also there was a new formulation of paint that I was working on, and that was the majority of the time what I was doing there.
So the company itself, what's their reputation like? You said they're very well known in the coding industry.
Yeah, in the coating industry. So when you think about domestic paint, or when you think about automotive paint, or when you think about any kind of paint that goes anywhere, they pretty much have it.
Oh, okay, great. So I understand that during your placement year, that's where your passion for bikes came from.
Yes.
So could you tell us a bit about that and how that happened? And
it's sort of a deep-rooted story. It's when I arrived in the UK, I didn't actually cycle, and I didn't think it was really safe to cycle here, compared to the Netherlands, because that was my benchmark. And then when I was in Newcastle, I was taking the bus every day to get to work, and that took me a while. And at some point, I decided, you know what, I'm going to bring my bike in. And I put my bike together and I sat on it for 2 years. I took it for granted. I couldn't, I just assumed the bike was just there, and I cycled on it and I absolutely loved it.
Oh, great.
And I thought, this is amazing. I really want to do something with this, and that resulted into indulges bicycles.
Oh, great. So after your placement year, you went on into your final year. How did you prepare for graduation, and what happened after?
Well, I started indulges when I came back after my placement year, and just ran it alongside my degree. And because it was still it was still a startup business, it didn't require a lot of my time. So I just had time to study and set up indulges, and they had the enterprise studio where I can set up my business. And I just kept on working on it until my graduation. And then during the summer, I just kept on working on indulges while waiting to start my PhD.
If you can remember back then, did you find your graduation hard, preparing and with the company?
Not really, actually. I think the toughest part of the graduation was wearing the gown, and it was really, really warm that day. So you were wearing a suit and a gown and a hat and everything, but it was really, really nice.
Okay, great.
Yes.
So setting up your company, indulges, Was there any challenges that you had to come across?
I have never set up a business.
Okay.
That was the first time I actually was taking things serious. So things involved as in, social media marketing, the website, actually shipping the bicycles, actually getting in stock. That was something I never really imagined and really never had the experience in. But then slowly but surely I made some mistakes and then I learned and I progressed through it. And that's how I basically where I am now with B-Dutch.
Okay, great. So you're also finalising a PhD
Yes.
in photonics and quantum science.
Yes.
So how do you balance B-Dutch and your PhD as well?
The thing is with a PhD is a lot of people tend to think it's a 9-to-5 job, but it technically isn't. It's a commitment. So you have your work and you have your own deadlines and you have it's your project that you work on yourself. So I know where I'm going, and it doesn't necessarily have to be that I have to be there from 9 to 5. Sometimes I come in for a few hours. Sometimes I don't come in. Sometimes I stay 12 hours or the whole night. It's a commitment, and so I have the freedom to sort of balance my PhD with B-Dutch.
Great.
Now, in the final stretch, of course, it gets a bit more difficult because you have to write the thesis. So my focus now is mainly on the PhD rather than on B-Dutch. And then when that's done, I'll go back to B-Dutch.
And for people who are a bit unfamiliar with what your PhD is on, can you explain a bit about what you do?
So what I'm actually doing is I'm working on organic hybrids. So what I'm trying to take is metal centers, metal atoms, and put an organic ligand on it, and trying to get the metals as close as possible to each other and increase the metal-to-metal interaction to make electrons actually flow easily from one metal center to another. Right. And this is what you call a mixed valence complex, and this is what I'm trying to make using ruthenium atoms.
Great. So if that wasn't challenging enough, you also set up a second company,
Yes.
Bike Bros.
Yes.
So you got your first company and your second company and your PhD. Could you tell me a bit more about Bike Bros?
So when I started my PhD in the ATI, which is the Advanced Technology Institute here on Surrey, one of my friends, he heard about me. I was like, oh, there's this guy, he has a bike shop on campus, and he wanted to do something as well. And then he came to me for advice. And he wanted to set up like a bike fixing service. And I told him, do you want to do this together? Because fixing the bikes alone and doing the servicing and maintenancing, it's a lot of effort for one person. And I suggested to call it Bike Bros because we're two guys.
Oh, nice.
And from there on, we set up the business, and all the errors and all the mistakes and all the lessons that I learned through B-Dutch is what I applied on Bike Bros. And Bike Bros grew much faster than B-Dutch.
Oh, okay, great.
So that's where I'm at with that.
So it's an environmentally friendly repair service located here at the uni?
Yes, so we recycle bikes, and there's bikes that, for example, students leave on campus, they're, I guess, derelict bikes, and campus takes them, and then they donate them to us, and then we fix them up to a really good standard, and then we refurbish them and we sell them.
Oh, great. So what made you pick the uni for your shop in particular?
Well, firstly, it's because the studio is located there, so it's much easier to actually run the business while being on campus. It's close to my building, so I can always pop in the shop when I need to. And we need to test it somewhere, so this is like a really good testing ground, and that's why I chose to continue sort of here with it.
Okay, great. So what does your future have in store now?
Well, that's a difficult one. I just came back from 5 months in Brazil. I managed to secure a grant through the university and to actually spend 5 months of my research there in Sao Paulo. I'm not sure. There's a few options I have. Either I continue to academia, or I continue with B-Dutch, or both if I can. Wow. It's trying to make a educated decision. So I'm still sort of trying to figure out which is the best choice for me now.
So if you were focusing more on the businesses, would they stay in the studio? Would you expand them anywhere? Or?
That's still undecided. Like for B-Dutch, that will probably not continue on campus. For Bike Bros, that's up to me and Dimitar, who I work with. So that's for us, we need to decide as to where that is going to go after we're done with our studies. Okay,
great. And you would balance your work with your PhD at the same time as the companies in the future. So what sort of jobs would your PhD lead you into?
So it would probably be a postdoctoral researcher. So I'll go to university and I'll do research in either my field, which is inorganic chemistry or polymer chemistry, or work for a company. But that's something that I decided on my placement year that's not something I really want to do. Okay. That's why I set up the two businesses.
Sure. So you're going down more the first option of working as a doctor, is it?
Yes, potentially, yes. Postdoctoral researcher.
Oh, great.
But most likely I will continue with B-Dutch bicycles.
Okay, great. So what does the postdoctoral research entail? Like what?
So you're technically a researcher at a university. So you're not working for a company. You work on a project with a supervisor, with other people in a group. It could be anything. You just find the project that you like at the university that actually funds it, and then you work there as a researcher.
Oh, great. Yes. So if you had any advice for first year Yusuf, what would it be?
I never expected me to set up a business.
Yeah.
That if 5 years ago, if you told me, Yusuf, you're going to have 2 bike shops, I would never believe that. I'm just glad that I took the opportunity, and I think everyone should be able to do that, because when you come to university, it's not just your degree. There's so much more happening. There's so many people, so many different options, so many different opportunities that you can take.
Great.
And I think you should make the most of it. And I'm happy that I did that.
Sure. Well, thanks very much for coming on, and I'm sure
thank you.
all your advice will be great for everyone watching.
Cheers.
That's all we have time for this week, but join us next time on Stag Talks, where we once again will ask Surrey's best to share the stories of their success. Goodbye.